Alright, in this video I have to do a correction, and I did a mistake, and this is how I'm going to correct it. It's going to be the same video that I did, but I was trying to do something new with split screens, and it was brought to my attention in good constructive criticism, which I took and went and checked back out, and sure enough, I had all the clips into the video, but what happened was I tried doing a new split screen, and I didn't do the split screen on the two that I did. So I went on ahead and redone the whole video, and so I hope you enjoy this, and that way you can actually see the full video like you're supposed to in this video. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I make country gravy with sausage over biscuits, and it's more. Hello, how y'all are? Here's Johnny, your host on the Cajun Roots Cuisine, where I do some tricks and tips and show you some things that I make in ways that I was taught by my grandmothers down in the bayous of Louisiana. Today I'm going to be bringing you on a trip with me to, I don't know why I just said a trip, cut, take two. All right, in today's video I'm going to show you how I make country gravy with sausage over biscuits, and it's more of a country gravy, a white country gravy at that, and I'll show you the basics on how I make it. And I want to ask you for a favor. If this is your first time tripping over my channel, I want to thank you very much for coming over, and I hope you enjoy the content. And if you've been returning, I want to thank you very much for your support to the channel, but I would like you to do me a favor, something that is free. Right below the video, that word subscribe, if you would change it to subscribe if you like the content. Right next to it, hit the notifications, hit all, there's three of them, hit the very top one. And most importantly, give me the thumbs up, but also give me those comments below. Let me know what you like to see. Let me know what you think about the video. I will let you know things that you can change and things you can modify or change in the recipe I'm going to show you today. And all the description, by the way, in the description bar below, I will have the ingredients of doing and making this recipe so you can try it at home. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And again, welcome to my kitchen. And first I want to mention some of the ingredients that we'll be using and some basic ingredients that you may have around your home for this country sausage and country gravy. It depends on what I can find at the store. Usually I like using the breakfast sausage. It's a premium pork sausage, country mild, or if they have one with sage. And it's so hard lately to find the one with sage, but I do use Jimmy Dean's breakfast sausage for this. Now this that I'm going to show you today is based on 2 people, but also you can get up to 4 meals out of this, up to 4 meals. So I'm going to kind of try to measure things out because usually I don't measure, so we'll try to do that for you in this recipe. But this is with the breakfast sausage I'm going to start with. Now you can either make your own biscuits, or I have noticed, and usually when they have them, I'll try to get them. They do have in the freezer section the pre-made frozen biscuits that you basically just put them out to rise and then you bake them. Or if you don't have time, how many of us have time to do this kind of stuff on a busy day? But if this is something that's quick and easy, I do use Grand Biscuits. It's my favorite. But also I use the Southern Home Style biscuits. And then basically you're going to follow the instructions on the biscuits. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this started, put it in the toaster oven because I'm not using my oven. I love my toaster oven that's right behind me here. And that's what I'll be using to get these biscuits done. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and go into the ingredients for making the sausage country gravy. This is the pan I'm using for my toaster oven. And I'm basically going to make sure I use the... it's actually a no-name brand, but if I can find it, I'll get it in whatever I can find. It's called the Buttered Flavored Pan Spray, and that's what I've used. I already sprayed it on the pan. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay out my biscuits, and I usually do 3 across, and I'm going to bake these again in my toaster oven. So this way here, I don't like to always keep my oven going if I can, and that's why I love this toaster oven. And then of course we'll do 2 in the middle. And I should have 3 left to go to across the bottom. Now stagger them because they will rise a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and put this in the toaster oven. And I already have the oven preheated, which you need to do before you get started. And this one says 350. Your oven is 375, but because I'm using a toaster oven, it's 350. And it'll take 11 to 15 minutes. So just follow the instructions on whatever biscuits you may use if they come out of a can. Or if you have the time to make homemade biscuits, use that. Or even the ones in the freezer section. It's all up to you, whatever you have and time you have to do. And so these are going in the oven. All right, now my next step is I do use virgin olive oil. You can use any type of oil. You can also use the bacon fat rendered from cooking bacon. You can also use regular vegetable oil, whatever you choose, but I do use extra virgin olive oil as my oil base. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the oil and I'm gonna give it a little bit because I'm getting ready to do the sausage first. And I'll go ahead and coat the bottom of the pan because I don't want this to stick to the pan. And I'm just using a regular saucepan. And then what I'll do is I'll get this hot and I want to take the sausage and I'm going to brown this first. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this open and we'll get this started. And I'll just cut this in 4. And then I'll get this out of here. And I'll go ahead and put this in here. And I'm going to cook this down until it gets nice and brown. And then we'll render this out of the pan, get that grease. I'll just put it to the side because then I'm going to use the same saucepan to start the gravy. Basically, the gravy is like a starting of a basic sauce of all mother sauce. And I'll show you that step. And this, once you do the basics, you can make any kind of sauce with what I'm going to show you here. But we call this a mother sauce, which basically is the start of any gravy. Red, brown, white, whatever you like, or chocolate. I've done it before in chocolate. Yes, I have. It was a little different, but guess what? It was good. Yes, it was. And I love the smell of this bacon. I mean, this sausage. And again, you can also use the bacon fats if you want to serve bacon on the side. Go ahead and get your bacon fat drips from that when you do your gravy. Either, it doesn't matter. But right now, we're just going to do the sausage, and as soon as this is done, I'll show you the next step. Get all this out of here because I don't want to waste none of this. And I think that's all I can get. All right, so I'm gonna get this down and cook down and I'll show you the next step. All right, now one of the next steps I wanna do is, I'm having this cooking and browning. But what I wanna do now that I have it all kind of chunked in chunks, I wanna leave them kind of whole. Depending on how much you wanna leave them either whole or break it all up, it's up to you. But I do leave them in nice in chunks. Now one of the things I do wanna add that I'll do this while this is browning is I wanna do the garlic powder. Or minced garlic, which is, you don't need a lot, which is about maybe a teaspoon. And then I'm going to also use a little bit of, and on this kind of stuff, I like that little kick to it. So I'm using Slap Your Mama. It is the hot blend, but I'm not using a lot. So I want to say maybe 3/4. No, let me look at me, my smallest teaspoon here, because you really don't want too much into this. I would say 1/4 of a teaspoon. That'll be the best bet to use on this. Would be a 1/4 teaspoon. But again, that's just what I'm trying to think of and measure. But it would be no more than a 1/4. And if you like it spicier, add more. It's up to you. But I'm just using that a little bit because I really don't want too much. Because again, I'm using black pepper, or in this case, I don't use black pepper. I use white pepper. But you can use black pepper as well. It's up to you. But I usually don't use black pepper. I use a lot with white pepper. All right, so I'm gonna have this all nice, and I want the seasoning in the meat. That's why I'm seasoning the meat while I'm browning it. So make sure you do that in this step. You wanna make sure you have your seasoning within the meat. Because the next portion is basically your a little bit of salt and pepper, and of course you're gonna use milk and flour to do the basic for the starting of the gravy, the sauce. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get this browned complete. All right, I wish I could have smell-o-vision on this because it is smelling awesome. Now basically what you want to do is make sure that it's all nice and brown. There's no pink left into the meat because that's what you want to make sure before you do the next step. And it's there. I do have some little browning on some of the pieces, which are fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this out of the pan, or the saucepan, and I'm going to put it in a bowl on the side for right now, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this and start doing the actual steps for the rest of this recipe. Now that I'm back, I did take and render or put the meat in a bowl on the side. I want to keep it still on the side. And I'm not putting anything in this just yet. I'm going to show you what I do with the next step. But this is basically everything from the pot in the saucepan I'm going to put in this bowl for now. Because now I'm going to use the same saucepan. And because I've drained everything into the bowl, I want to make sure there's no grease on the side of the pan. So I'll give it a good wipe down. And then what I'm going to do here, pull this top, that's where I put the biscuits at after that. I'm going to put it right back on the heat. I want to keep the heat on, because now I'm going to coat the bottom of the pan, and we're going to coat the bottom with the olive oil. I want to give it a nice coating on the bottom, just enough to have the whole bottom of the saucepan covered. We'll keep the oil though, because we may need it in a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm measuring, and this is the first time I actually do this by measuring, so I will do a measuring cup, and I'm using a 1/2 cup, a measuring cup to do the flour, and then we're going to use some milk. So let me get the flour open. And of course I'm going to measure this out, and when I do measure anything like this with flour or anything like this, I will fill it over, and then I have my spoon that I keep in the flour container, and I want to take and make sure I just tap it across the top and flatten it out. So this is a 1/2 cup of flour. The oil is getting hot. Again, I'm going to take this and put it in the oil that is hot already. And we'll go from here. Now take a rubber whisk, because I am using a type of non-stick pan. And again, you want to mix all this together with the oil. And if you see that you have some flour left on the side and it's not enough coating all the flour, that's okay, because then you can just add a little bit of flour, oil at a time, whatever oil you're using. And you want to make sure at this point, you just want to make sure all the flour is coated. And you're going to see, as soon as I get this done, I'll show you, it's like a paste. So I want to add a little bit more, because it's not enough and there's some flour left. And just keep adding a little bit at a time until you see it's like a paste. And you want to cook it down a little bit, because you don't want it to taste the flour. So you want to make sure you cook it down a little bit. And this is what you're going to see in the consistency. And it's okay, because now it's right where I want it. And I want to make sure I cook this down a little bit, because I want to get that flour taste out of it. And then I keep that going for a little bit, and that's right where I want it. And I'm going to show you that again in the pot. And that's what you want. So this is the basics of any sauce. This is called a roux. Now if you want to make a darker brown gravy, you would cook this down until it gets like a toasted color brown. But I'm going to keep this light, because I don't want to cook this down as a roux. And this is your basics for the roux. And just like you see here, you see how it's starting to thicken a little bit more? That's what you want. All right, now the next step is I'm going to add my milk. Now usually it's about 1 cup to 2 cups. I'm not going to measure, because I basically eye it. But for the video's sake, so let me go ahead and do that. And I'll use a 2 cup for right now, because the longer you cook this, the more it'll thicken. So we're going to do 2 cups of milk. Let's start with that. Again, I usually don't eye it. I just eye it. I never measure. So here we go with 2 cups. And again, you can use any type of milk. You can use heavy whipping cream, any choice of milk that you want. Now I'm going to take this milk and pour it right into the roux. And this is where you want to take and make sure you stir it up and mix it together. It's more like marrying the milk with the roux, because now you want to make sure there's no lumps in it, and that's why it's important you use a whisk. When you're not using a whisk, you're going to mess up a little bit. So I want to make sure I use a whisk, because it kind of breaks all that flour and the roux. And again, the roux is just your basic flour and oil. And that's the start of any sauce. Your red, browns, gumbos, stews. I usually use a roux for spaghetti. Yes, I do. That's how I usually do a homemade spaghetti with a roux. So things like that you can do, and this is how you would start that. I'm trying something new on this video, so please let me know what you think about it and the different angles I have. I'm using 2 different cameras. One is a straight view from my face, and one is actually another camera facing down towards the pan or pots of where I'm cooking in. So I'm going to bring this closer so you can see. And we'll go from there and let this cook down. You want to make sure it comes to a boil. You're going to get a boiling look to this, which is fine, but you want to keep stirring it, because you don't want it to stick to the bottom or burn. Now at this time, it is starting to thicken. And again, this is where you can add more, because you don't want it too thick. So at this time, I'm going to add more milk, because I want to thin it out. I don't want it too thick, because as you see here, it's getting very thick, almost like I call it grits. But anyway, it's very thick right now, so I want to keep it loose. I want it more of a gravy consistency. So now I'm going to keep adding milk until I get that right consistency. And you can keep adding again. I'll probably add another cup. And then you can add a little bit at a time as you see the right consistency. You don't want it too thick. You want it just basically to where it's more of a thick gravy. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and keep stirring this really well. Now at this time, I'm going to add my little bit of pepper. And you can use black pepper, but I do use white pepper. So just do your pepper. And just your tasting. You don't like black pepper, or I use white pepper, it's fine. You use as much or as little as you like to taste. And I'm going to give a couple of dashes of salt, because I don't like using salt. But I will add a little bit for flavor. And we're going to keep stirring this up. And then we're going to add the sausage in a few seconds. And now mind you, at this time the biscuits are still in the toaster oven, and it's been less than 10 minutes. So from step 1 to 3, I say 1 to 3 because the browning of the sausage, making your roux, and then the milk. It's about 10 minutes. So it's right where I want it to be, and as you see, it's got this nice thick graviness to it. So I'm going to keep cooking this down. Now remember, the longer you cook it, the thicker it'll be. But then at this point now, I need to move this to a medium heat. Take it off a high and put it on medium. And then now what we're going to do is, because it's right at the right consistency, and I'm going to go ahead and keep cooking this down on a medium heat, and then I'm going to now add the sausage right into this. Now I'm done with the whisk, so now I think I can take this out because it's right in the consistency of the gravy that I want. Nice and thick. And it's going to be this nice, beautiful white gravy. Now I'm going to take this out of here because I don't see any lumps. Everything is fine. And again, you still can add milk if you need it, as needed. There goes the biscuits. Now, what I'll do is add the sausage. And I'm going to keep all that liquid in there, all that grease that came out of it, I'm going to keep it. I want to keep it in here because it's all cooked together at this point. And I'll empty this out into the pot, and I'm going to stir all this together and marry this together, incorporate it, and all that good stuff together. And I need to take the biscuits out of the oven. See if they're, oh yeah, they're beautiful. Nice and golden brown. The biscuits are beautiful. And then of course you can cover them with butter, whatever you like, but I'm gonna put those to the side to cool off. All right, now we're gonna stir all this together, and I want this to cook together, so now it's gonna take a few minutes to marry all this together. And again, you can serve this directly over your biscuits. You can add a side of bacon, sausage, breakfast sausage, or patties, whatever you like. But this itself is a big meal in itself. It's a nice comfort food. And as you see now, the gravy is nice and thick. And when you do this, it should stick to your spoon. That's what you want. But again, if you want it a little bit thinner, you can add more milk. But this is right where I want it. And again, you can always add more. Make sure when you add your seasoning, you add it a little bit at a time. Come back and taste it. See if you need to add more seasoning. But you don't want to add too much at one time, because once you add it, you cannot take it out. So, and this is just something that I learned how to do, and I freaked out when I first learned this. I worked offshore. We really didn't have this when I was growing up as a kid. But when I joined the Navy, and I was cooking in the kitchen, and then I worked offshore, this was a big hit. It was one of the things they wanted for breakfast. Had to have it. No matter what else you had to spread on breakfast, you had to have this. They call it SOS. So I'm like, why are we doing a Mars cold biscuit? You know, I didn't know. And then I learned that in the South they also call it something else, on a shingles. Anywho, so I tried it, and then I got hooked. Now, I don't want to eat this too often because of the flour, but you know, you can always modify this and use whatever flour you want. I do use almond milk. It gives it a little nutty taste, a little vanilla flavor, because the one I use is almonds and vanilla, but I do use the sugar-free one. But again, you can use whatever milk you choose. Heavy whipping cream. I just chose to use this. Now, see, it's getting very thick again because I'm cooking it up a little bit more. So I may need to add a little bit more milk, because the longer you cook this, the thicker it'll get. And you want to make sure you cook it down because you don't want that flour taste. So I'll go ahead and add a little bit more milk and let this simmer some more. And you just keep adjusting it as you see needed. If it's too thick, add you a little bit more milk. And if you want it a little thicker, just let it keep cooking. Either way. But this is basically the gravy with sausage. It's called sausage gravy. Country gravy on a stick, on a shingle. I always hate to say that. But anywho, that's what's known in the South. It is a comfort food. It's something that's nice and good on a cold morning, some fresh hot breakfast kind of thing. All right, so what you're going to do is you can do one of two things with your biscuits. I'm going to keep this now on a low, and then I'll let this finish cooking down, and that portion is done. So that is your country gravy. I keep almost said it. On a shingle. So anyhow, what you want to do is one of two things with your biscuits. You can either cut them in half and toast the inside, have a nice little crispiness on the inside, or you can just cut your biscuits in half and serve them on a plate with the gravy on top of it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and plate it up, show it how it is done, and thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this recipe. It's something that's very quick and easy. You can also make it to where you can feed more people by adding more ingredients. Now, the meat sausage portion was 1 pound. If you need to serve more, you can add more sausage, or you can even add more thicker sauce to start with your roux and then your milk. So you can basically make this feed a good family, big family. All right, now we're going to start by plating this up. You can use 2 biscuits, 1 biscuit, however many you want. You can leave them like this, or you can also cut them in half. And you can take and just slice them in half, like that, or like that. All right, or you can serve it like this, and you can, however you want to create it, you're more than welcome to. This is you creating a picture on a plate. You can also do it like this if you'd like, and put them all upside down. It's up to you, however you would like to, but again, it's up to you. And again, you can also do it this way. And then now we're going to do the gravy. Give it a nice good stir. As you can see, the gravy in here. There it is. And now we're going to plate this on the plate. All right. Basically, you're going to go right in the center of your biscuit. Put as much or as little as you like. Cover right down the middle. And basically, enjoy your meal. And again, that's your biscuit, Southern biscuits and gravy. And that is it. And I hope you enjoy. And that is biscuits and gravy. Country gravy with sausage. So anywho, if you like this content, please let me know and leave me comments in below. And if you want to see any particular kind of video in the future, just let me know that as well. And again, if this is your first time tripping on my channel, I want to thank you so much for coming by. But I want like you to do me a favor before you leave. Make sure you hit the word subscribe below. Right next to it, hit the notifications. The top third one is all your notifications. And also, please do me a favor and give me the thumbs up. But leave me those comments. That all helps the channel. And as I say before I end each and every one of my videos, good cooking, good eating, and bon appetit. Now, before I do go, I need to taste this and see how it is. Do I need to add more seasoning? Well, we're about ready to find out. So yeah, I got to taste it. I can't do that without tasting this, right? Perfect. It is perfect. Bon appetit. Ça, c'est bon.